Hello folks, how you doing? Scotty. So I had a recent comment and I was influenced to do this video on education based off where you get the information from. The idea that you require some sort of university degree or a college degree or whatever it may be in order to have something there to speak on it. It's a bit like someone saying you need a college or a university degree in order to go out there and take good pictures with a camera, or in order to be this established photographer. Whether you're going to study economics, politics, history, you do not require any sort of state establishment in order to do so. Well, the commenter mentioned something about they had studied language. This was something they studied independently, and of course, in all due respect, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't believe for 1 second that just because that person sat and independently studied a language that they are any less credible with regards to that language than anybody else is in an education establishment, such as through colleges or universities, because through experience, the only thing with regards to what I was studying, photography, I had the advantage of using a studio space, and that's what went for me in terms of studying photography. Maybe that was a wee bit of an advantage, but when it comes to information based, you would be amazed that a lot of the time they just get you to go and look up on YouTube. You could do that at home. You could honestly go and study things at home and do your own independent research, because that's honestly what it comes down to. And even when you go to university, a lot of it will be down to independent study. But that's not the issue that I have. It's this idea that somehow if you did not study through a university, or if you did not study and gain a degree, whatever it is, through college or whatnot, then because you've not got a degree, then you're not worth listening to. One of my greatest influences was Robert Burns, and he was a man who independently studied. In fact, he was homeschooled by his own father. He wasn't, educated through any sort of state schools or that, because state education in Scotland goes as far back as the 18th century, and it's unfortunate, it's just been one of those things. I don't think we've ever had free market education or anything like that. The United States certainly has, but not within Scotland, unfortunately. Although it must be said that, at least in a time, and I was speaking to somebody who was a lot older than myself, and he mentioned how at least years back in, I think, the 1930s, he studied right up to about 1950 or something. He said that there was a bit more independence in terms of choice, but a big difference of what you see today is that, and here's one of the biggest problems, it's the fact that what you study, your answers have to match what the government board will accept. In other words, when you go to sit exams, your answers have to match what the government wants from you. This becomes a very big problem, because who's to say the government's right? Whether you're studying something on history, whether you're studying something on politics or economics or any other particular subject that may be, who's to say that the government is right on their answers? Now, this happened to be an experience, because when I studied travel and tourism, one of the answers that I gave was a right answer. My lecturer told me it was a right answer, but they would not pass me first time on an assessment simply because my answer did not match what the government board, in other words the SQA, would look for. Now, imagine this, that you go through something like college or university and you are rewarded with a degree in whatever particular subject that may be. You feel, proud of that achievement. You feel proud of the achievement, but partly because they rewarded you as if that's right. But again, going back, let's say your answers were to match what the government wants, and you pass whatever exams it is. Who's to say that information was correct? So it is important to look at history from all different angles, and I bring this up because there was someone who, had their own sort of revisionist view on things such relative to Adolf Hitler, and apparently, according to a number of them in the Scottish Libertarian Party, such as Ewan, Anthony, and a few of the others, like Darren, etc. They somewhat admitted along the lines that she had these Nazi views, and I remember I was up at Darren's house and Ewan said that she had these Nazi views. I couldn't comprehend at the time. I didn't really fully understand why. And of course Darren somewhat agreed with it, and I was kind of thinking to myself, well, hold on a wee second here, what was it that kind of made her a Nazi? Of course I didn't know anything at the time, I didn't fully comprehend. And then later on in that month, unfortunately, things went downhill. I wasn't exactly in the best state of mind. I've been through a lot of, unfortunate shit. And, it's my own fault for leading myself into that kind of mess and all the rest of it. But she fell out with us anyway, and that was that. And I hit rock bottom. My confidence level just went, through the roof. I just, through the floor, more like, shall I say. It just, I felt distraught. Just because of everything that's just happened through so many years. It's not something that's been short period of time. It's something that's prolonged over the course of 10 years. And when I went to the meetings, because I was struggling even going there, but when I was going to the meetings, it was one of these things that I was told she wasn't going to return there because I was there, and Anthony, in his own words, basically said to me, "Don't worry about it anyway. She's not suited for the party anyway. She's got Nazi views," and that's basically what he said. And I couldn't get this into my head. My head was already messed about at the time. I just couldn't understand. I didn't comprehend why was this. Why does she have Nazi views? I don't get it, right? And then I sat down with Ewan. Ewan, for some odd reason, just really hated her. He couldn't comprehend why I really liked her. And Ewan said to me that, the reason for, why she's got Nazi views, because I asked him and I says, why is she got Nazi views? And well, he basically told me that it was something to do with compound interest. Now, I knew nothing about this whole debate or argument that they've apparently had. What do I know? But apparently between number one, her views on compound interest, and number two, something to do with she denies the Holocaust. This is what apparently makes her a Nazi. Now, this was something that I kind of sat back and I thought to myself, sure, she hates me, right? Sure, she hates me, but I sat thinking to myself, that does not make someone a Nazi. Just because you don't believe in the mainstream story, I don't believe that is something that makes you a Nazi as such, right? So this is the thing that I'm getting at, because between Darren, Anthony, and Ewan, they were agreeing that she had Nazi views. I didn't comprehend, and when I got to understand that it was something to do with compound interest and denying the Holocaust, I thought to myself, well, I personally believe the Holocaust may have happened. But just because someone denies it, it doesn't make them, whatever that may be, right? So, this was someone who looked at history from a revisionist point of view, and in my view, her own opinion is no less credible than anyone else's own personal opinion. Just that's my personal view. I don't agree with it. I don't. I think the Holocaust did happen, but just because someone has their own independent view, it doesn't make them a Nazi. So, and this is the whole thing, because, and it goes back to one of my own personal biggest influences, Robert Burns, who independently studied and he was taught by his father. He was someone who quoted saying in one of the famous poems, "A man's a man for all that." He says, the honest man, though ever so poor, is king of men for all that. But he also says, the man of independent mind, he looks and laughs at all that. Well, that's the way I look at things, because an independent mind is what you require in order to basically have a thorough understanding of history. History isn't just looking at one perspective. If that was the case, we would all accept that the Industrial Revolution saw a collapse of living standards, well, in the first Industrial Revolution, and that just wasn't the case. In fact, the revisionist version of history contradicts that, and I think that's important to look at, especially with regards to the statistics with wealth, and I've pointed all those sort of things out before. I'm not going to sit here and go into all of that, but this is the point. So I don't believe that because of a person looking at independent research that they are any less credible. And this all goes back to the person who commented on my video. I don't believe that just because you study a language independently that you are any less credible than anyone else, for that matter. I don't believe that if you independently study economics or politics or history, that your voice is any less credible than those who went and studied it at university. In fact, I've put several people who went to university, studied economics, were, so full of themselves, and yet when they came into a debate with myself, I asked them, what's the economic calculation problem? And the person couldn't even comprehend. In fact, it was that bad, the person couldn't even understand the basic laws of supply and demand. So, this is something, I admire of people. Those who are able to, look at something with an independent mind. And that's something that you do require if you want to be able to understand anything at all to do with libertarianism or the free market. You're not going to get it through mainstream version of history. It's just not going to happen, and that's the reality.